Hi everyone, my name is Charles Artist, but you can call me Charles, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. It's going to be an art commentary video. I have been seeing these around YouTube a lot, and I really enjoy them, so I'm just gonna give you guys some commentary while you guys watch me draw this picture for my June art challenge. So, today's topic that we'll be discussing is K-pop and how it actually might be harmful to Black women and femmes. So let's get into it. Alright, so I was inspired to make this video. And first of all, I apologize. I'm a little congested right now, so that's why my voice sounds very hoarse. But I was inspired to make this video because I saw some commentary surrounding Jay Park, who is already super problematic, but he recently did a song that was a remix of Kendrick Lamar's DNA. And the original song DNA was obviously about being proud of being Black, and this remix is essentially supposed to be being proud of being Korean, which is all fine and good until you see the video, where it's just literally a bunch of South Korean rappers dressing up or like cosplaying essentially as Black folks, complete with exaggerated mannerisms and dreads. One boy even had like an afro, and folks were like rightfully calling this man out for cultural appropriation. To which he responded with some absolutely horrendous take about, defending his actions and cultural appropriation and this, that, and the third. Go read the statement if you want to. I'm not going to get too much into it because it's literally just like garbage. Like, he's in the wrong and he just wants to not be in the wrong. He just wants to appropriate culture and peace, but he can't. But we're not here to talk about Jay Park. He's problematic, always has been problematic. But because of this incident, I saw some articles also about Queen Wasabi. And she's another South Korean rapper. And she has a new song out about Jay Park. And the Twitter folks were saying that the vibes and the energy were looking real similar to one Miss Doja Cat. And I watched the video because I don't like just believing people on Twitter say. I actually like seeing for myself. And can't say that it's a reach. Can't say that they're wrong. Especially if you know literally anything about Queen Wasabi. She basically acts like a caricature of a Black woman. She got the hoop earrings, the being loud and overtly sexual, do-rags and twerking and all that, a mess. And so this entire incident actually got me into thinking about just how harmful K-pop really is. Jay Park is a former idol, and Queen Wasabi was never an idol, but they kind of fall into this realm, and kind of just one thing led to another. Now I'm thinking about this, about how harmful K-pop really is, and not just to Black folks in general, but especially to Black women and femmes. So we're gonna take a look at two aspects of it. First, the Korean perception of Black women and femmes, and then what it is to be a Black K-pop stan or fan. So first, we gotta discuss the image of Black women and femmes in Korea and K-pop, because I think it's important to understand how they're already perceived and exist in Korean society. And in my opinion, the best way to explain it is the way white kids from a small town perceive Black women and femmes. And this isn't to imply that all Korean folk are racist or engage in harmful behaviors against Black femmes. This is to say that just like those small town white kids or white people, their perception is shaped by the media and others who have had contact with Black femmes, but not their own personal interactions with them as people. Because there usually just aren't a lot of access to those people. There aren't a lot of Black women in these small towns. There aren't a lot of Black women and femmes in South Korea. And this is coming from personal experience as someone who's lived in a small town and grew up in a small town, and someone who's also been to Korea. So, let's take a look at reaction channels when talking about how the media portrays Black women and femmes. And Korean React type channels are really popular these days on YouTube. And it gives you a glimpse of what types of media are reaching a Korean audience. And fair warning, when I talk about Black femmes, it usually is American Black, and it's not super common to see from folks from the rest of the diaspora in these channels. And in these reaction channels, they often have high schoolers or young folks to react to the most shocking thing. And that's because these garner a better reaction. So if they're reacting to singers or artists, can you guess who they show the most often? Megan Thee Stallion, Doja Cat, Cardi B. all artists who are known for their sexually provocative lyrics and visuals. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I adore these artists to an extent. But, and that's because Korea is a much more traditionally reserved society. So seeing these very overtly sexual people and artists is like gonna be a huge shock, you know? But you don't ever see these reaction channels ever showcasing folks like her, Andra Day, or Janelle Monáe, not because they wouldn't have as big of a shock factor, you know? But there is another Black woman they always love to showcase too, and that's Lizzo, who has these very positive and loud lyrics and energy, but is also known for this very provocative performance. And not only that, but she does it while being dun 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 fat. So, and if you know anything about Korea, you also know that like most of the world, it's incredibly fat phobic. And so seeing this Black woman being proud and sexual, being fat, is also like shocking, or gonna gain like a big reaction. And all this is to say is that this often is the first and only of a few images of Black femme folks in any degree that reaches a Korean audience outside of major movies like Black Panther. So there's an incredibly limited exposure to Black women being presented as fully formed human beings rather than these loud and sexual objects. And these images are only further pushed when we see Korean artists reinforcing these stereotypes. I'm sure many of us have seen talk show clips where often specifically Korean Canadian or Korean American artists are asked to show how Black people are really like, or like different cultures or whatever. And I mean, have we seen the clip of Wendy from Red Velvet pretending to act like a Black woman?
잘 나가는 이제 흑인 언니 분들이라고 하시면은 Girl, what did you say, girl? No, you ain't doing that.
And like, she's grown. She should know better. And then there's also Din, who was born and raised in Korea, but like he still did, like somehow he also knew how to do a caricature of a Black woman despite, you know, being born and raised in South Korea. So clearly we can see how this image is permeating that culture. And not only the artists themselves wrong for this, but the writers who came up with the question, or the hosts who asked the question, and the rest of the participants laughing and encouraging the behavior are also all at fault. And we haven't even touched on blackfishing. And blackfishing, if you're not aware, this is where you can use certain aspects of Black culture, usually very surface level aspects like tanner or darker skin, fuller lips, braids, AAVE or BVE, or like slang, do-rags and mannerisms to try and seem cool or hip-hop while still benefiting from not actually being Black. And when I say hip-hop, or when you hear the word hip-hop in Korea, a lot of times that just means Black. Like, that's code for Black. Like, if you're like, if they say like, oh, like, this outfit's really hip-hop, or this hair is really hip-hop, that just means this looks like Black. This looks like something a Black person would do. That's like what that code is for. So like, if you see that in media, like that's a one-to-one comparison. Now, if we're talking about blackfishing, now back to blackfishing. If we're talking about blackfishing, I think y'all are already gonna know who I'm gonna talk about first, and that is Miss Jessie Nunu Nana herself. Now, Jessie has been called out for blackfishing multiple times and has denied that that has ever been her intention.
And I had to let that go because I realized that, stop saying I'm blackfishing. I am not blackfishing. What, now I have red hair, so I'm blackfishing? Oh God, you guys are always gonna have something bad to say about me, but if you don't like me, get off my Instagram, please, I beg you. I'm such a positive person and I love everybody.
I mean, she's from New York or whatever she says. I think she's actually from Jersey, but, you know, sure, she can say she's from wherever she wants to. Now, I think we all know that when it comes to like blackfishing, there's levels to it. And just because she didn't like intend to blackfish, as she claims, does not mean she is not blackfishing. She's nearly the perfect caricature of a Black femme person. She got her lips done to appear fuller, got a bigger butt, like, is known for her big butt and twerking, is known for being very loud and being very outspoken. It's very sexual. She tans her skin frequently, where it has like signature hoop earrings, and uses AAVE. So, did I miss anything? I don't think I did. And with her gaining popularity, more and more people are being exposed to Jessie's quote-unquote New York style. But come on, when she says New York, do you think that what pops into folks' mind is a picture of Carrie Bradshaw? Or is their New York more like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B? Like, let's be honest with what we're saying here. And while Jessie is the most prominent case we see of blackfishing, like I talked about before, there's also Queen Wasabi, who's doing the same thing as Jessie, although I don't think she tans her skin. And then we also have, to a lesser extent, someone like Jamie, who whenever she speaks in English, for some reason, always uses AAVE. Like always. Like, without a doubt. And it's like, okay, interesting. And of course, a lot of these K-pop girlies only ever adopt black aesthetics when they want to seem hip-hop or hard before they take off their box braids and hoop earrings and can return to being these cute and innocent idols. I mean, we've seen it from especially a lot of second-gen idols. You know, we're talking about, like, 4 Minute or CL and 21, Lee Hyori, you know, and it still happens to an extent today. So yeah, the media's perception of black womanness and black femmes is usually derogatory and relegated to hip-hop. While these aspects are seen as undesirable on regular folks and black women, they're often used as an aesthetic to boost street credibility, only to be taken off again when wanting to be respected and accepted into Korean society. So now let's talk about being a black K-pop fan. And I'm not trying to like completely and wholly shit on K-pop as a whole cultural like aspect and genre of music. Like, I myself am a black K-pop fan. I've been a fan of K-pop for like 4-ish years now. Like, I really enjoy it. And if you enjoy it as well, there's nothing wrong with that. But being a black K-pop fan specifically does pose some unique challenges. So let's start about first the ideal standards of beauty in K-pop and how they're often the exact opposite of like what black women look like. So anti-blackness is everywhere, and Korean beauty standards weren't created to be anti-black, but I think that it can be really harmful for young black girls and femmes, or I guess black femme folk of any age, to continuously see like your features, your natural features, being shit on. First off, skin tone. Within the black community, we have many issues with colorism, and this is not, let's get past the desirability debate, okay? Colorism is much deeper and affects almost every aspect of daily life. And we have this issue within the black community with the wide range of shades we have. In South Korea, they have a much smaller range of skin tones, and the ideal skin tones that are pushed for idols especially is a lighter skin tone. And those who are darker, you can see in interviews or lives or whatever, either have an insecurity about it or tend to get teased about it. And by darker, I don't mean like Lupita Nyong'o or even like Beyonce. I mean like light-skinned, like not like light-skinned, okay? Like idols who literally are like so stunning and even considered like the visual of their group, like Mingyu from 17 and Chewie from Twice, have expressed some embarrassment about their darker skin tone. I mean, take a look at how they perceived Hyorin from Sistar, who was considerably darker than her rest of her group mates. Like, she may have been the most popular member, but that didn't stop like the comments or jabs about these like debate over like this darker Hyorin and her lighter group mates. So, and when I went to South Korea and I tried to buy like a BB cream or a powder, they literally did not have my shade. In like a lot of stores that I visited, everything was too light. Like, girl, you've seen any of my other videos with me in it? Like, my shade. Like, I am peak light skinned, and I was too dark for their beauty standards. And obviously, because their population is less diverse than America, we can't expect them to have massive ranges of shades all the time like Fenty. But girl, come on. And can we also get into body types? I think for male K-pop idols, it's still pretty strict, but not nearly as extreme or drastic as it is for lady idols. As any femme, I think that seeing even very normal bodies being constantly shamed and picked at can be super damaging. But black women do tend to have different bodies than Korean women. It's just how genetics worked over time, especially because historically in a lot of like art you see, especially like in West African art, you can see that bodies that had thicker legs and fuller figures were highly praised. And nowadays in the black community, we still praise fuller figures, bigger butts, more curvier figures, which is oftentimes a direct contradiction to Korean beauty standards. And let's not even get into the fact that an ideal of Korean beauty is also a thin, high nose. If you don't know what that looks like, think of like Irene from Red Velvet. And we all know what traditional black noses look like, and it's not that. So yeah, Korean beauty standards really are almost an antithesis to what black women generally look like. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it can be harmful overall. So now that we've talked about, let's get into talking about having to either abandon groups that commit cultural appropriation or other racist behaviors, or having to ignore that behavior in order to keep enjoying a group you really like. So folks, I think this one is pretty prevalent for all non-white and non-Korean K-pop fans, but especially for Black, South Asian, and Native American fans. K-pop groups are constantly committing racially charged, racist, or just generally insensitive actions. In K-pop, there's literally no such thing as a non-problematic fave. Yes, even BTS has a problematic past, and whether they've apologized for it or not, it still happened. And like I said, I know folks are always like, they learned, that was so long ago, they changed or whatever, but that does not change the fact that they did what they did. This can be wearing dreads, braids, locks, etc., mocking like the mudra, speaking in an overly exaggerated caricaturistic accent, or using slurs. Name a group, and I can almost guarantee that at some point, some member has done something problematic. Now, this can be super damaging on a lot of levels to the groups that these behaviors affect. Let's say you're a fan of a group. All the members are really cool, you like their music, they make you happy, and you listen to their music all the time. Plus watch the programs they're on, and maybe even buy their albums and merch. That's awesome. They're such a positive part of your life. And then you see that this group that you admired, one of their members did a caricature of your culture as a joke. And everyone thought it was really funny and laughed. Now what do? You're hurt because this person and group that you really respected just disrespected your identity and pushed harmful stereotypes as a joke. Do you just keep pushing it as usual? Or just keep it pushing as usual? But the thing is, you can't. Because you'll always remember that joke that they told. Even if they apologize and say they'll do better, it may be months or years before you actually believe them. Or it could be that they learned to only use those jokes in private. And of course, this is all between just your view and your relationship with your idol and you. And there's still the reaction that the rest of the fan base and the internet will have, which a lot of times is people who weren't offended by the idol's actions trying to tell you how you should feel about it, or making up these crazy stories about how this idol really isn't at fault and this is what happened, so this is why they were actually doing this, blah blah blah, whatever. And how they would know better than you, or how they would know better than you, or oh, we should just forgive them, they're Korean, they can't be expected to know about everything, right? Then if the idol apologizes, stans will start accepting apologies on your behalf. I mean, this aspect definitely has gotten better for sure. But then, even if you don't accept the apology, stans will be like, they apologize, so let's just sweep this under the rug. Why do you keep trying to bring this up? It's time to clear the searches. Bombarding Twitter and Instagram with, oh, this idol, best boy or best girl, or this idol's so nice, or oh, this idol's amazing, or whatever. Trying to get everyone to literally erase history of what happened. And every one of us that's affected by these actions has to decide, where is our limit? What is our point? At what point do we stop enjoying this group and move on? Or at what point do we have to forgive this member? Where is the line? Okay, so what's the point of all this? If this is how K-pop treats black women and femmes and people of color, why do we still enjoy it? And it's not a secret that K-pop is often not seen as a genre or a culture that is enjoyed by black people, even among international fans. That's why on Twitter and Instagram we see hashtags like Black Girls Like K-pop or Selfie Days for like Stays, Carrots, or Army to uplift and find community between black K-pop fans. So, with our voice being so small within the community at large, when problems of cultural appropriation and other racially charged offenses occur, our voices rarely affect any actual change, and the choice is simply to give up on a group or K-pop as a whole, or just accept that this is just part of the culture. And that's harmful, to have to constantly accept your dehumanization. To admire and enjoy, whether it be Korean culture at large or just the K-pop and music industry, and know that the perception of your identity is so twisted and ignorant, is something that is damaging. Black women and femmes in general contribute so much to the global culture, and yet we are often given the shortest stick when it comes to claiming ownership and being given respect for those contributions. And at the end of the day, K-pop is an industry and is not necessarily indicative of attitudes that Korean people hold. And there have been improvements in holding artists and companies accountable for mistreating and being harmful towards Black culture. We see groups like Tribe apologizing very quickly after one of their artists said the N-word, groups like ATEEZ after a promo shot of one of their members with dreads, I think, was put up, they apologized and took it down. So things are getting better. But we aren't wrong to expect even better and to expect more. K-pop is an international culture now. Companies market just as heavily to international markets as they do domestically. Groups like Luna, Car, Dreamcatcher, and GOT7, while they may not have the strongest domestic fan bases, have found incredible success abroad. So it is not wrong to expect idols and companies and programs to be educated about these issues. Things are changing, as we saw many idols posting last summer about George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. But we will continue to hold even those idols accountable for their actions, because we deserve to enjoy K-pop too. Black femmes, Black women, K-pop may have a lot of things that are harmful to us, but we deserve to enjoy this genre just as much as anybody else. And I think there's something wrong with pushing a media that has become so international and diversified to respect those cultures that it clearly is so influenced by. So yeah, that was the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want more videos like this, let me know. Even if you don't, I'll probably keep making them because they're super fun and I have a lot of opinions about things. But yeah, be sure to subscribe to see more videos and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.